killed in a shooting outside an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. on the evening of Wednesday, May 21st, and a suspect is in custody. A man and a woman were shot and killed in the area of 3rd and F Streets in Northwest, which is near the museum, an FBI field office and U.S. Attorney office, according to the reports. Washington Police Chief Pamela Smith said a single suspect who has been pacing outside the museum before the event was in custody. The suspect chanted Free Palestine, in the custody, she said. The Israeli embassy did not immediately respond to the questions about the shooter, the victims, or the motive for the attack.
We believe the shooting was committed by a single suspect who is now in custody. Prior to the shooting, the suspect was observed pacing back and forth outside of the museum. He approached a group of 4 people, produced a handgun, and opened fire, striking both of our decedents. After the shooting, the suspect then entered the museum and was detained by event security. Once in handcuffs, the suspect identified where he discarded the weapon, and that weapon has been recovered, and he implied that he committed the offense. The suspect chanted, Free, Free Palestine, while in custody. The suspect has been tentatively identified as 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez of Chicago, Illinois. I don't know if he's telling you at this moment, but I do notice that he's in custody. And as you know, Maury, we have to conduct an investigation, and that requires us to ask many questions.
The couple that was gunned down tonight in the name of Free Palestine. It's a young couple about to be engaged. The young man purchased a ring this week with the intention of proposing to his girlfriend next week in Jerusalem. They were a beautiful couple. Came to enjoy an evening in Washington's cultural center. On the way in, Ms. Bondi was kind enough to hand me the phone. On the other line is the President of the United States, Donald Trump. He told me that the administration is going to do everything it can possibly do to fight and end anti-Semitism.
We believe the shooting was committed by a single suspect who is now in custody. Prior to the shooting, the suspect was observed pacing back and forth outside of the museum. He approached a group of 4 people, produced a handgun, and opened fire, striking both of our decedents. After the shooting, the suspect then entered the museum and was detained by event security. Once in handcuffs, the suspect identified where he discarded the weapon, and that weapon has been recovered, and he implied that he committed the offense. The suspect chanted, Free, Free Palestine.
A group of diplomats came under fire while visiting Jenin, a city in Israel-occupied West Bank, according to the Palestinian Authority. The Israeli military said the visit has been approved, but the delegation deviated from the approved route, and Israeli soldiers fired warning shots to distance them from the area. The military apologized for the incident and said they will contact all of the relevant countries involved in the visit. The IDF apologized but claimed that diplomats swayed away from their pre-approved path after global outcry over its troops opening fire in West Bank city of Jenin on Wednesday. Diplomats from nearly 12 nations were touring Jenin when troops started shooting in the air, warning them. Footage on social media showed the diplomats running to take cover as shooting begins. Several countries have summoned the ambassador of Israel and sought an immediate clarification on the incident.
جيش الاحتلال يطلق النار على الوفد خلال تواجدنا، يطلق النار بشكل مباشر هي جيش جيش الاحتلال لا زال يطلق النار باتجاه الوفد الدبلوماسي من القناصل والسفراء بين الدول.
لا نعلم بالضبط ما يجري.
الاحتلال الإسرائيلي كل أحد سكانه منذ 4 أشهر من مدينة جنين وتنفيذ حملة اعتقالات وإطلاق نار في المدينة، والآن الوفد
جيش الاحتلال يطلق النار على الوفد خلال تواجدنا، يطلق النار بشكل مباشر.
President Vladimir Putin visited Russia's Kursk region for the first time since Moscow claimed that it drove Ukrainian forces out of the area last month. The Kremlin said on Wednesday. Video broadcast by Russian state media purported to show Putin visiting Kursk's nuclear power plant 2, which is still under construction, and meeting with selected volunteers behind closed doors on Tuesday, 20th May.
Даже после освобождения противника этих приграничных регионов, там все равно остаются сложными. Сейчас с Александром Алексеевичем об этом говорили. Но вы знаете это лучше, чем кто-то другой. Ну, а в целом, конечно, и вся Курская область, так или иначе, она столкнулась с проблемами, которые характерны для пограничных. Все, в том числе и проживающие в самом Курске, сталкиваются с этими проблемами, переживают, прямо сказать, далеко не лучшие времена. Мы знаем также, что оставленные храмы противник превратил практически в крепости, и при их освобождении этим зданием, сооружением был нанесен серьезный ущерб. И, конечно, попросил Алексеевича самым внимательным образом все проанализировать и сделать просто отдельную программу. 65 тысяч, которые мы получили, мы договорились когда-то о том, что они будут выплачиваться до освобождения пограничья противника. Жертв там никого нет, пограничных населенных пунктов. Но вернуться туда пока нельзя до полного развития. Поэтому деньги были до тех пор, пока даже после освобождения противника этих приграничных регионов, там все равно остаются сложными. Сейчас с Александром Алексеевичем об этом говорили. Но вы знаете это лучше, чем кто-то другой. Ну, а в целом, конечно, и вся Курская область, так или иначе, она столкнулась с проблемами, которые характерны для пограничных. Все, в том числе и проживающие в самом Курске, сталкиваются с этими проблемами, переживают, прямо сказать, далеко не лучшие времена. Мы знаем также, что оставленные храмы противник превратил практически в крепости, и при их освобождении.
During a tense Oval Office meeting on May 21, 2025, US President Donald Trump confronted South African President Cyril Ramaphosa with a video alleging a white genocide against the white farmers in South Africa. The footage, featuring inflammatory rhetoric and images of white crosses, was presented as evidence of widespread killings. Ramaphosa refuted the claims, emphasizing that a crime in South Africa affects all communities and that narrative of targeted persecution against whites is unfounded. He highlighted that the controversial video has been previously debunked and did not reflect government policy. Despite the confrontation, Ramaphosa attempted to steer the discussion towards the strengthening bilateral trade and cooperation.
A lot of people are very concerned with regard to South Africa, and that's really the purpose of the meeting, and we'll see how that turns out. But we have many people that feel they're being persecuted, and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. And we had a lot of people. I must tell you, Mr. President, we have had a tremendous number of, generally they're white farmers, and they're fleeing South Africa, and it's a very sad thing to see. But I hope we can have an explanation of that, because I know you don't want that. It's a kind of a different meeting. Normally we have meetings, we talk about trade, and we'll be talking about trade and other things. But that certainly will be a subject that comes up.
It will take President Trump listening to the voices of South Africans, some of whom are his good friends, like those who are here. When we have talks between us around a quiet table, it will take President Trump to listen to them. I'm not going to be repeating what I've been saying. I would say if there was Afrikaner farmer genocide, I can bet you these three gentlemen would not be here, including my Minister of Agriculture. He would not be with me. So it'll take him, President Trump, listening to their stories, to their perspective.
These are articles over the last few days. Death of people. Death.
We have a multi-party democracy in South Africa that allows people to express themselves, political parties to adhere to various policies, and in many cases, or in some cases, those policies do not go along with government policy. Our government policy is completely against what he was saying, even in the parliament. And they're a small minority party, which is allowed to exist in terms of our constitution.
But you do allow them to take land.
No.
You do allow them to take land.
Nobody can
and
take
then when
land.
they take the land, they kill the white farmer. And when they kill the white farmer, nothing happens to them.
No, there is
Nothing happens to
There
them.
is criminality in our country.
A lot of people are very concerned with regard to South Africa, and that's really the purpose of the meeting, and we'll see how that turns out. But we have many people that feel they're being persecuted, and they're coming to the United States. So we take from many locations if we feel there's persecution or genocide going on. And we had a lot of people. I must tell you, Mr. President, we have had a tremendous...
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Wednesday that Israel wants to create a sterile zone in the south of the Gaza Strip where civilians can escape the fighting and receive the full humanitarian aid. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu has stated that Israel will maintain full security control over Gaza once the war concludes. Speaking from Jerusalem, he laid out key conditions for ending the conflict: the release of all hostages, the disarmament of Hamas, and the expulsion of its leadership. Netanyahu also unveiled a three-phase humanitarian aid plan, even as UK officials accused Israel of weaponizing hunger. With global criticism mounting and ceasefire demands intensifying, Netanyahu stands firm on his military objectives.
אני מוכן לסיים את המלחמה בתנאים ברורים שיבטיחו את ביטחון ישראל. כל החטופים חוזרים הביתה, החמאס מניח את נשקו, יורד מהשלטון, הנהגתו מוגלת מהרצועה, כלומר מי שישאר ממנה, עזה מפורזת לחלוטין בנשק, ואנחנו מבצעים את תוכנית טראמפ. תוכנית כל כך נכונה וכל כך מהפכנית. והיא אומרת דבר פשוט: תושבי עזה שירצו לצאת, יוכלו לצאת. כל מי שקורא לנו לעצור את הלחימה לפני שהמטרות הללו יושגו, בעצם קורא להשאיר את החמאס בשלטון. ולכן, כדי למנוע מהחמאס את היכולת להשתלט על הסיוע ההומניטרי, פיתחנו יחד עם ארצות הברית תוכנית אחרת, תוכנית לחלוקת מזון בסיסי לאזרחים ולילדים שלא יגיע לחמאס. וזה מחולק לשלושה שלבים. סליחה. שלב א', הכנסת מזון בסיסי עכשיו לעזה, כדי למנוע משבר הומניטרי וכדי לאפשר את המשך הלחימה. שלב ב', וזה יקרה בימים הקרובים, פתיחת נקודות של חלוקת מזון על ידי חברות אמריקניות שיובטחו על ידי צה"ל. ושלב ג', תוך כדי ההשתלטות על שטחי רצועת עזה, יצירת אזור סטרילי בדרום הרצועה, שאליו תפונה האוכלוסייה האזרחית משטחי הלחימה לצורכי הגנתה. ובאזור הזה, שיהיה נקי מחמאס, אני מוכן לסיים את המלחמה, בתנאים ברורים שיבטיחו את ביטחון ישראל. כל החטופים חוזרים הביתה.
Palestinians in Deir Ebla, central Gaza, held funeral prayers for victims, including children killed in an Israeli airstrike. The bodies, wrapped in white shrouds, were laid outside Al-Aqsa Martyrs Hospital as mourners gathered to pay their respects. Due to overcrowded cemeteries, many victims were buried in mass graves. The airstrike resulted in at least 20 deaths, highlighting the ongoing humanitarian crisis in the region.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
Andrei Portnov, a former top aide to ousted Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych, was assassinated outside the American School of Madrid in Pozlo de